Before the automobile, one machine changed the face of the planet forever. For over 100 years, the locomotive ruled the world. The British built a line in India that climbed 7,000 feet up a mountainside. Railways powered through the jungles and deserts of the African continent. And in North America, the locomotive conquered the West. We may think we live in the jet age, but the world's freight is still hauled across continents by the locomotive. Although the golden age of steam is long gone, the future of at least some of these fascinating pieces of technology is saved, thanks to a few wealthy individuals.
I want to be able to take it out and run it so people can see how it looks when it's out there doing what it did. And it's not just some musty old black and white photograph.
For these people, the steam locomotive is the ultimate machine.
I've been at the controls of about every machine man has invented except an atomic submarine, and nothing comes anywhere near to the thrill and the skill it takes to run the 614 well.
When Canada gained its independence from Britain in 1867, it was made up of just 4 eastern provinces. The country's first prime minister believed that if Canada was to survive as a nation and compete with the United States, it would have to expand westwards. But there was virtually no way to get from east to west. As a condition of joining Canada, the British Columbia authorities demanded that a railway line be built across the Rockies. The railroad carved its way right through the heart of the mountains. It took just 4.5 years to construct at a cost of $175 million. It was completed in 1886, an incredible 6 years ahead of schedule. For over 100 years, people have come from all over the world to make this journey. Today, the line carries more freight trains than passenger services. To pull a train with over 100 freight cars, you need a lot of horsepower. Here in Calgary, a new generation of diesel locomotives is being assembled. Manufactured by Canadian Pacific, these are the most powerful train engines in the world. 80 feet long and 16 feet high, these metal monsters are capable of pulling 5,000 tons at a top speed of 75 miles per hour. The engines generate 6,000 horsepower and have a fuel capacity of 5,800 gallons. Each locomotive takes 4 weeks to construct and costs over $2 million. But even with machines this powerful, hauling a massive freight train over the Rockies requires 3 locomotives. The master diesel heads the convoy with a crew on board. Behind is a second engine. In the middle, 50 cars down, is a third, remote-controlled locomotive. This mammoth train needs a crew of just 2 people. The engineer is the crew chief.
9668 West, answering Rural Banner.
The conductor monitors the train's progress and backs up the engineer as a safety measure.
You work your way up, being a brakeman, being a conductor, and eventually you get to go into the training program to be a locomotive engineer, which usually takes up to a year. There's about 3 months of classroom work, and then the rest is all practical. You go and work with locomotive engineers on the different subdivisions until you're ready to be qualified.
This train, over 1.5 miles in length and weighing over 14,000 tons, is bound for Vancouver. Once it leaves Banff, the train climbs steadily up towards the Kicking Horse Pass, where the line crosses over the Continental Divide. On one side of the mountain chain, the rivers flow to the Atlantic. Over the other side, they flow down to the Pacific. One of the most dangerous sections in the early years of the line was the Big Hill, an 8-mile stretch of track with a steep 4.5% grade. Many trains lost control here and derailed. Over a period of 20 years, 6 crewmen were killed. Canadian Pacific was forced to think of a safer way of getting trains over the Rockies. This was their solution. It may look like 2 trains traveling in opposite directions, but in fact, this is the same train winding its way through a spiral tunnel. 2 spiral tunnels wind like a corkscrew through the mountains. This one, called the Pretzel, is 3,255 feet long, emerging 56 feet lower than its entrance. Although steam-powered mechanical drills were used, most of the work was accomplished by muscle and sweat. The tunnels were completed in 1909, after 20 months of work by 1,000 men.
The experience itself is unique for the fact that you go deep inside a tunnel, you circle back around, and you come right out underneath where you went in to look back and see the train above you, which is your train. You're actually in a full loop.
Once through the tunnels, the journey west to the coast is all downhill. The engineer must keep his wits about him.
When you're going downhill, that's where your adrenaline, your heart starts to pump a little bit. Sometimes it gets a little scary. I've never had a true runaway, but there's times when you're not comfortable, you know, the train's going a little faster than you want it to be going, and it's not responding to what you want to do, and now you apply more braking effort, and eventually it does come back under control, but it's not a nice feeling.
11 different crews, each working 10-hour shifts, move a freight train like this from Winnipeg to Vancouver Port in 3 days and nights.
Gratification when you make it to the other end of the road. You know, you get the freight from one end to the other, and the state of the country depends on us moving all this freight.
Although most people now travel by automobile and airplane in Canada, locomotives and the massive freight loads they pull are just as important today as they were at the birth of the country.